So we will discuss now cellular response to stress. If there is any stress, but I am saying any stress to the cell. Stress can be ischemia, hypoxia, any kind of stress, free radical injury, mechanical, thermal, any kind of stress can be there. If there is any stress to the cell, what will be the first thing cell will do? Cell will try to, yes, cell will try to adapt. He will try to adapt according to the situation. If there is a lack of food or lack of nutrient, the cell will adapt and slow down its metabolism, so lesser nutrients will be required. Let's say if the stress of the cell, which I am saying, let's say this stress, which I am talking about, increases, okay, or some additional stress is there. First, there was only starvation to the cell. Now there is loss of oxygen, okay, lack of oxygen also. So it will become a to the state when it crosses the threshold, it will become injurious stimulus. What I am saying? Injurious stimulus. Sorry, injurious. Injurious stimulus. It is raised to that extent. The severity of the stress is that we need to call it as injurious stimulus. Okay, it is causing an injury to the cell. So if there is only increase in stress and it is very transient, the cell next stage will be cell will undergo cell injury. Cell will get injured. In cell injury, first it will be reversible. Then if the stress is continuous, it is still maintained, the cell will go undergo irreversible cell injury. And we have got two types of irreversible cell injury. I mean the last part. So irreversible cell injury occur. What will be the end point of that? End point of that will be cell will die. Cell will die by two processes. First is necrosis. The second is apoptosis. We will discuss all these things in the coming upcoming chapter. So we need to learn about how the cell adapt. What are the reversible changes in cell injury? What are the irreversible cell injuries? And how the cell will die. So we will discuss necrosis and apoptosis. So the first thing we need to get done with is how the cell adapts. What are the type of adaptation cell will undergo? Okay. So let's say what is adaptation. First of all, we need to grasp the definition of that. These are the reversible, reversible, functional, and structural. Both function and structural changes in response to stress. I will write in response to stress. That is simple. Is it pathological or is it physiological? At this point of time, it is physiological because there is a feedback mechanism. Okay, physiological. Because if the why I'm saying physiological, let's say the stress is not there now, the cell will come back to its normal state. So these are adaptations. How the adaptation will occur? We will discuss them. See, if there is a decrease in demand, what I am saying, sorry, increase in demand. Let's say there is an increase in demand from a cell. This is a cell, and it does some function. Okay, it does some function. It has its structure. There is an increase in demand of its function or its structure. Okay, so if there is increase in demand or increase in stimulation for growth, what I am saying, increase in stimulation that you should get bigger, you should get bigger, you should get bigger. If there are two signals there, first we need that thing, what that cell makes or what the cell do, we need that function. And the other is there is back from the back side, from the above, there is a signal to that cell that you should grow. These two will lead to an adaptation called as hypertrophy. We will discuss all these adaptation in very detail. Okay. First of all, hyper means more, trophy means size. The first adaptation you need to know about is hypertrophy, more size. Again, let's say there is a stress in which there are lesser, sorry, 1 second. See, the other thing, if there is increase in demand and increase in stimulation of growth, the other thing that cell can do is it can increase its number. It can increase its size, which will be called hypertrophy. If it increases its number, that adaptation will be called hyperplasia. Let's say there is no increase in demand. There is okay less supply of nutrients. Okay. We don't have enough nutrients for the cell, or there is no backward signal. The backward signal is not there, which stimulates the cell. So there is no stimulation. Then then what will happen to cell? Atrophy. Atrophy means atrophy is decrease in size. In size of what? That is not clear. We will deal with the correct definition. Let me just tell you earlier. Atrophy is decrease in size of an organ or a tissue due to decrease in both size and number of cells in it. Okay. It is not decrease in only size of cell. That is a wrong statement. Decrease in size of organ or whatever the tissue. It's a bigger unit. The next is metaplasia. How metaplasia occurs? Okay, if there is a chronic stress, I'm not even saying chronic stress, it's a chronic irritation. If there is a chronic irritation present as a stress, it will lead to what it will lead to? It will lead to change in phenotype. What I'm saying? Change in phenotype. Just remember the keywords. Change in phenotype. There are two things, but first is genotype and the other is phenotype. Genotype is genetic component, and what that genetic component will make in body in somatic cells will be the phenotype. So that I am saying metaplasia is a change in phenotype. Let's say if this is a one type of cell, it will change to other type of cell. Okay. Okay. That is the basic meaning of it about it. We will discuss it all together. Now let's discuss what are the types of cell injuries in that response chart. We covered there are four type of adaptations, and we will discuss them one by one. And the other thing, if there is injurious stimuli here, it will lead to cell injury, and these are reversible and irreversible cell injuries. See, cell injury is what? It is injury to cell, which it will be due to stress, or I can say progressive stress. Let's say that stress is very acute, it is very short duration and transient. It is for a very short duration. It comes very quick. Acute means it is very quick, and transient means it is for a shorter duration. Then the kind of injury to the cell will be reversible. We can reverse that. If the stress is progressive and the stress is of severe kind, if the stress is progressive and the stress is of severe kind, then the type of injury will happen that will be irreversible injury, and irreversible injury will end up in cell death. And there are two methods of death, which are necrosis and apoptosis. Necrosis is chiefly a pathological death. Apoptosis is usually both physiological and pathological death. Apoptosis is actually programmed cell death. Let's say if there is a stress in association with the starvation condition, it's a keyword, then the type of there will not be a cell death, and there will be after cell death. The thing happen is after cell death. What I am trying to say, we will discuss this topic in great detail, that is autophagy. Phagy means eating, auto means cells. So there will be autophagy. The next kind of irritation is chronic, metabolic, and genetic. It will lead to intracellular accumulation. If there is a chronic if there is a chronic stress or metabolic disorder or a genetic kind of stress, there will be certain function which will not happen in cell, and there will be accumulation of certain particles like proteins, lipids in that cell. One of which example I would like you to remember is if there is a calcium deposit in if there is calcium accumulation in cell, it represents cell death. Okay, it is a marker of cell death, type of cell death. Okay, there will be calcium deposition. The name for that would be dystrophic calcification. We will learn that later. If there is a sublethal injury, why I'm saying sublethal? It is not lethal to the it is not lethal to the cell, but it is somewhat changing the age or changing the various function of the cell. So the cell will age faster and it will cause cellular aging. So these are all the topics we are going to discuss in this chapter: cell and cellular response to stress and injury. Thank you.